Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Full Body Yes podcast. In the previous episode, we laid the foundation for understanding reflections as a self leadership and correction mechanism rooted in balance. So, we talked about the law of soul balance and we explored the first two main pathways that reflections show up through. The first one was what we do to others, we get back, kind of like what people see as karma. And then the other one, which is even more important and the thing that most people miss, is how we treat ourselves is what we're going to get back from the universe. And if you didn't listen to the previous episode yet, I highly, highly recommend that you go back and start there because otherwise, what we say here today is not going to make much sense to you. And everything we're about to talk about builds on the foundation that we discussed in the previous episode. So today we are going to expand the lens. We're going to talk about the more subtle and sometimes more hidden, more confusing pathways that reflections can take. And then I am also going to give you a way to work with reflections because this work can either empower you or break you down and make you a bit neurotic. We don't want you to go that second route. So I'm going to teach you a way to work with reflections, to treat them as data in order to improve your life, to get yourself back into balance and really achieve any goal that you want to achieve. So let's pick up where we left off in the previous episode. So we talked about the first two pathways that reflections can take, and pathway number 3 is the inside out voice. Now, this one is freaky when you start noticing it. It's basically when a repeating thought pattern that you have, especially a harsh one, gets spoken out loud to you by someone else, sometimes literally word for word, which is honestly creepy the first few times you clock it once you learn about reflections. Now, I literally had this happen to me last week. I've had it happen to me a lot of times, but last week specifically, because I knew we were recording this podcast episode today, kind of really flagged up for me, where I told my husband that I'm considering taking a further course to teach me another subconscious rewiring method. And my husband told me, Shiri, stop. You already know what to do. This is you just chasing after another person to tell you what to do when you already know what to do. And it's time you put everything together that you do with your clients into your own unique method. Now, literally, that has been a voice in my head for the last few months, and my husband spoke it back to me word for word. Was it still annoying? Yes. Was it still triggering? Yes, especially when I was so excited about this new thing that I want to learn. And if you are a type of person like me, you know what it's like. Like, you love studying, you love expanding, you love learning more and more and more. But there is a point where it is enough, right? There is a point where you already know what to do. Your clients are already getting incredible results. It's not always the right time to learn another method. And really, the biggest people in the world, the biggest mentors, the biggest guides, the biggest public speakers, they all have their own unique methods. They do not rely on specific methods. They do not advertise that they work with specific methods. They have their own unique ways of working with clients, and that is what makes them incredibly successful. And honestly, that has been my situation for the last few months with clients, but I have been a bit too afraid to even name that, right? It is a whole self-image thing where you really need to be very, very secure in what you do to tell yourself that you don't need another certification, that you can advertise online that you're doing, to really be so rooted in how incredible what you do is and how unique it is, how no one else even knows it or can even use the same technique. You have to be very rooted into that in order to claim it, in order to not feel the need to advertise that you work with a specific method or technique. And this is really what my intuition and higher self have been telling me to root into in the last few months. And when I had this, excitement about a new course and a new method, my husband literally spoke my words I've been saying in my head to myself back to me. So you might have that loop in your head as well. And this has happened to all of you as well. Let me give you an example. For example, you could have this thought loop in your head of, I'm not qualified enough. This thing won't work. I'm not ready. Who do I think I am? I am going to mess it up. And then you talk to someone and you ask them what you should do. And then they will literally say back to you, I don't think you're ready for that. you're not really qualified for that, are you? Or that's not going to work. And you're like, excuse me? And as annoying as it is, as triggering as it is, so many times it is literally the people around us just playing out the script in our creator field that we have written. They literally say our thoughts and our beliefs back to us out loud. Again, when you notice that, it is mind blowing. And this pathway of the inside out voice, this pathway that reflections can take, is so crucial because thoughts are part of the creative process too, of the creation process, not just emotions, but thoughts, memories, beliefs, all of it. And if your internal voice is running a script, the reflection can show up as someone externalizing it. So you can finally see it. And again, when you finally notice it, it can be mind blowing, especially because you might have found yourself be really angry with like your partner, your child, your parents, a good friend, when they told you, when they reflected back to you that you're not ready. This is not really for you. Or you shouldn't do that until you reach this level of success or whatever it is. And that might have been so triggering for you in the moment. But now, if you're thinking back to when this happened, you will notice this was most likely the person just reflecting back to you your own thoughts, your own beliefs, just saying them out loud to you. And again, when you realize that, you can't really be angry with the other person. They are just repeating what they are getting from your energy. And the thing I want to add here is this is why noticing what kind of thought loops and beliefs you keep looping and you keep thinking about is so, so crucial, because when you think a thought over and over again, when you believe a belief over and over again, it becomes so deeply rooted in your brain. And then that's what you create in this world. And it will create not only inside out reflections, it will also create not being able to get certain things, certain opportunities, certain clients, whatever that is. It is so, so important to notice that. And part of working with reflections is getting really honest about what your internal soundtrack is, especially the one or the ones that you might normalize because you have lived with them for so long. It is so crucial to, again, I always mention self-awareness. It is so crucial to become self-aware and to take radical responsibility, because then every time you get this reflection of a person just repeating back your thoughts to you, you will not be angry with them. You will understand, you will see it as a signal, as data for you to start shifting those beliefs. And how do you know if something is an inside out voice or literally just someone saying what they think, which is always also going to be a reflection, but just a different one? Well, if it sounds familiar, if what they say sounds familiar, it is likely an inside out voice reflection. It is likely something that you have been telling yourself over and over, and therefore it must come back to you, it must be reflecting back to you as an inside out voice reflection. Okay, let's move to the fourth pathway that reflections can take, and that is situations. Situations as reflections. Now, this is a level where there's no villain, there's no person to trigger you. It's just your life. It's just your life structure. It's just situations that you find yourself in. It is your calendar. It is your workload. It is timing. It's bureaucracy. It's waiting in lines. It's delays. It's the fact that you can't seem to catch a break in your life. It's like the situation itself is the reflection. For example, you do not allow yourself to have fun. You don't allow yourself to rest. You don't allow pleasure. You're always productive. You're always trying to prove yourself. You're always chasing the next goal. You're always kind of managing everything. The reflection might not be someone telling you, oh, you don't get to have fun. But it might be your life becoming so packed and so demanding that fun isn't even available to you. You suddenly don't even see opportunities to have fun. And that is because you are broadcasting that fun isn't allowed. And then your reality organizes around that. I have had this type of reflection recently. Well, not really recently, for a long freaking time, but recently it's become very, very loud. And that is my son's sleep. Alex, my 3.5-year-old son, who since he was about 14 months old has not properly slept through the night. Now, this is extremely frustrating because, well, let's leave the newborn phase aside because he was a terrible sleeper in the first 3 months. 4 months, let's say. But from the age of 4 months till the age of 14 months, he was an angel. He was sleeping 12 hours straight. I remember thinking that I won life. I won at life. And then the age of 14 months came, and he started screaming every night for hours on end. Yes, we've had certain weeks when it got better, but it always went back to that. It always goes back to that. It is still ongoing. And for the first year, I would say I knew about reflections, but I guess I wasn't ready to take real radical responsibility. So I took him to all the healers in the world, all the doctors, all the naturopaths, everything, and no one could tell what was wrong with him. Literally no one. I find it, by the way, mind-blowing that I went to very, very famous healers and they don't even know the law of reflections. Like, that is mind-boggling and mind-blowing. And now I am so careful about who I go to and who I give my money. And it's only going to be people who speak my language and learned the same topics that I have learned from, kind of the same mentors that I went to, because so many people just miss the mark completely, even if they're considered to be incredibly psychic or whatever. But yeah, for over a year, we went to all the different professionals and no one could say what was wrong with Alex. There was nothing wrong with him, but he was screaming every single night. There was a doctor that said that he might be having night terrors, but he was like just one at that point. Night terrors are not meant to start until they're like 3. So there has definitely been a reflection for me there. And the reflection of sleep problems. So sleep represents rejuvenation. It represents being refreshed, being rejuvenated, feeling this, having this refreshing energy, right? When you sleep well, that's what it gives you. You are ready to tackle the day. You have this really amazing energy about you. When you do not sleep well, this means that in one or more areas of your life, you are not letting yourself rejuvenate. You are not letting yourself enjoy. You are not letting yourself have this like refreshing, fun, new energy. For me, it is in the financial area of life. So the reflection is, for the past 2.5 years, I have not been letting myself rejuvenate in what I have financially enough. So I always look to what I don't yet have, to the goals that I'm trying to achieve financially, thinking about what it's going to be like when I achieve X, Y, and Z, and thinking that that is only when I can finally relax and rejuvenate and like freshen up. And what's been happening is I have not been letting myself enjoy the money that I have been making and the resources that I do have. So what I'm doing recently to finally shift this reflection, and for a long time I was kind of dabbling in it, but I have realized now I need to give it everything that I've got, even if it means spending 30 to 60 minutes a day shifting the reflection. Hello, that's worth it if I get to have a full night's sleep. So what I have been doing is clocking. Where in my life do I find appreciation and rejuvenation for what I have financially? How do I find the want, the appreciation for what I have, and not for what I don't yet have? And I've been doing this through clocking micro moments every single day, like even to the point of the coffee that I had in the morning made me feel so refreshed, made me enjoy my day. I woke up a bit groggy, then I had my coffee. I felt so great. And hey, that was a coffee pod that I already had in the morning. So that is one way that I've been doing it. And then another way is creating intentional moments where I use my financial situation and my finances right now to create moments of rejuvenation. So what I have been doing is I have been taking myself out for coffee a bit more, which is something that I used to not do so often. I bought myself bath salts, expensive ones, to really just enjoy and let my muscles relax. I also train 7 days a week, not 7 days, 6 days a week, but 7 times, whatever. Anyways, to let myself really just soak in nice, like Epsom salt baths and just like really let my muscles rejuvenate. And I'm not going to start spending like massive amounts. You know, we have been talking about money on this podcast as well and how it's so crucial to be very, very mindful. But it's those little things that I can use my current financial situation to really make myself feel rejuvenated and refreshed. And again, I've been spending in the last few days every single day between 30 and 60 minutes, really clocking micro moments, really connecting to them emotionally, and also finding where I can use my current finances to rejuvenate even more. And Alex's sleep has gotten better and better and better. Now, this is not something that's going to shift in one day. And again, this is something that, again, I'm going to take radical responsibility. I was dabbling in it too much instead of going all in. And then I was complaining about Alex's sleep. But hello, I create everything. especially when our children are under the age of 7, we create everything that they do. They don't have their own reflections. Everything that comes up for them is a reflection for us. So while this is something that might take me a bit of time to shift and resolve, because it's something that has been with me for 2.5 years, and finances specifically are an area of life where I have a lot of lessons in, as I talked about previously in this podcast. But going back to what we're even discussing in this episode, this situation with Alex's sleep has been arising and getting worse and worse to get me to notice this imbalance in the financial area of life where I don't let myself rejuvenate in what I already have. Now, this pathway of reflections showing up as situations is huge for leaders, for business owners, because we often think that the stress, for example, that we experience is just part of leadership, it's just part of life. And sometimes it could be to a degree, but often, especially when we are feeling it, when we are triggered by it, it is actually a reflection of an imbalance in a different area of life. And when you notice it and when you shift it, that is when the area of life gets back into balance, and that is when you actually don't feel as stressed. And the final pathway that we are discussing today is things as reflections. There are also body reflections, but that is such a big complex topic on its own that we're not going to cover it today. But just so you know, body reflections are huge. But yeah, the final pathway that we are discussing today is things as reflections. So this is where some people either light up or really roll their eyes, but it is worth hearing. It is worth listening to, because it is such a useful way to track imbalances, to track inner patterns and shift them. Now, this level says that things can be reflections too. They can reflect imbalances too, like your car, your phone, your home appliances. This is a huge one. So for example, the check engine light in the car, if it lights up, it is connected to not checking in with yourself. I know someone that recently her computer was going crazy and telling her that there's communication problems. And she was like, and she knows the law of reflections. And she was like, this is so funny because I really have felt like I needed to work on my communication with my partner. And that is what's been happening. Now, the thing is, like with everything in reflections, if you don't shift the reflection early, it will get louder and louder and louder. I know someone who literally lives in my town who posted on her Instagram stories probably 3 times about a month ago. So 3 times over like 2 weeks, that the first time their fridge broke. Then, like a few days later, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Now my dishwasher broke. And then a few days later, I can't believe it. Now my washing machine is broken. And I so wanted to tell her there is a massive reflection here that you have to shift or things will keep happening. But I checked intuitively, and unfortunately, I saw that she was not going to accept it. So I only bothered. I only used my energy, for helping people that will actually take in the information and do something with it. But overall, all of this to say is when something breaks down, when something doesn't work properly, literally a thing, that reflects something to you. Now, what I want you to understand is each and everything that like breaks down or doesn't work properly has its own specific signal, its own specific reflection that it points to. So it's never just something general, it's always very specific. Like what I told you with sleep is connected to rejuvenation. So that is me not rejuvenating in one area of life. Every single thing that breaks down has its own very specific purpose or reflection, root cause that it is pointing to. So for example, a heater not working is linked to you not comforting yourself, not allowing warmth, being cold with yourself emotionally. So usually the function of the thing, whether that is the situation, whether that is a thing, whether that is a body part or a phenomenon in the body, like itching, like scratching, like acne, stuff like that, all of that, the function of the thing is a message about an imbalance that you are experiencing inside. And how do you know what reflection the thing is pointing to? Well, a lot of the times, and with practice and learning more about reflections, you can figure it out by logic, but the easiest, fastest way to do it is intuition, of course. Now, obviously, I can't decode every single appliance issue or, something breaking down for you in a list in this episode. But the point is, if you start treating your external world like feedback, you stop being annoyed by it, triggered by it, confused by it. You stop acting like a victim, like, why is this happening? And you start being like, okay, this is what it's pointing at. This is what I need to shift. This is what I need to change. Now, those are most of the pathways that reflections can take place. And honestly, if we ended the episode here, you would already have so much knowledge, so much understanding about reflections, and such a more precise map to work with reflections than most people. But there is one more layer that is very, very important that I want to discuss. And it doesn't have to do with the pathways as such, but it is really the foundation that determines everything. And it is the belief or the filter that I created it all. And I know, this is where a lot of people get tense, get annoyed, because there is a very fine line between empowerment and beating yourself up, right? Between radical responsibility and beating yourself up and shaming yourself, between kind of I created this from an empowered place, and between I deserve it from a place of shaming. And those are not the same thing. What I want you to know is and understand is that this is not here to shame you. Reflections are not here to shame you. And the fact that you created all of your reflections is not here to shame you. It is actually showing you that you are in control. Because think about it. If you think that something is not your creation, that it happened to you, that you had no control over it, your creator field organizes more and more experiences that prove to you that you have no control. Because the script in your creator field becomes, I don't have any control here. And then in reality, it will reflect that script back until you either become super powerless and victim, which is honestly where most of the world is at right now, or you can reclaim your power. You can see it as data, and you can reclaim your power of creation and your power to control what happens to you. So I want you to almost cultivate this as a constant stance, a constant belief before, during, and after you experience a reflection, whatever that is. I want you to remember that you created this. And this just becomes part of your identity. You don't debate it. You just know that everything that happens to you, positive or negative, you create it. When you do that enough before, during, and after dealing with reflections, when you remind yourself that you created this, again, from an empowered place, not from shaming yourself and not from beating yourself up, you become that person whose default belief and default stance is, I create everything and I can shift and adjust everything. Now, again, I don't want you to get into the place of shaming, of everything bad is my fault. I hate my life. I hate what I'm doing. Why do I even live if I create all this bad stuff? I really want you to reframe that into, if it is in my reality, I have control. I have leverage. That's it. If it's in my reality, I have leverage. Even if I don't fully understand how reflections work yet, even if I don't fully understand the mechanism of how they work and how to shift them, even if it's quite complex and complicated, even if it involves other people, my children, my friends, even if it's something that I realize that I have been doing to myself for years, maybe people have been rejecting you for years, people have been telling you you're not enough for years, whatever that is, if it's showing up inside your field of influence, which means that you can shift it. And the practice is learning to understand where it's coming from, the root cause. And once you understand what the root cause is and how to shift it, you are a master of your world. You control everything that happens to you. And that is so beautiful to understand when you really just get into that mindset of, I created this, so I can shift this. So looking at it from a shame place would be this means that I'm bad. But looking at it from a powerful place would be, this means that I can work with this and I can use it to my advantage. I can use it as leverage. Okay, so now let's make this practical, because you can't just intellectually understand reflections and then expect life to change. As I told you, I have known about reflections. I've been practicing and shifting some reflections for years. And honestly, it is only recently that I am finally doubling down on Alex's sleep reflection. Again, not dealing with that reflection is a whole reflection in and of itself. We're not getting into it today. But I just want to remind you, if you're listening to this, you are human, and humans love consuming knowledge and thinking that that is embodiment, right? How many podcasts do you listen to? How many courses have you bought? How many books have you read? and you thought like, wow, this is amazing, but then you just keep living the same patterns, you keep living the same life doesn't actually improve that much. That is because your creator field, your thoughts, your beliefs, your nervous system don't change just from knowledge. They don't just change from knowing. They change from practice, from embodiment, from interrupting your reality in a real time, from repeating the new behaviors, from choosing a new response enough times that it becomes your new default, and repeating it until it becomes your new default. So when something happens that triggers you, that annoys you, that hurts you, that makes you feel powerless or whatever that is, I want you to do 3 things for now. First, I want you to name the experience without the story attached to it. So instead of my partner doesn't respect me, you say I'm experiencing disrespect. Instead of money never works for me, you say I'm experiencing instability. Instead of everyone ignores me, you say I'm experiencing not being heard. Now, this matters because it pulls you out of the dramatic situation with other people usually, or with situations, and it puts you in a neutral pattern name. You are naming what it is without the story, without the traffic jam that got you annoyed, without your partner that got you annoyed, etc., etc. Then second, I want you to ask, where am I feeling this way? Where am I out of balance in this way in another area of life? So if the reflection came up with your partner, that would be in the family area of life. So the root cause, the real root cause of the reflection would be in one of the other 7 areas of life. If the reflection came up in finances, for example, you got a fine, you would need to check how that makes you feel. And then where are you out of balance in this way, in the way that it makes you feel in one of the other 7 areas of life. And then third, you're going to start shifting the reflection where it started, not where it popped up. So if the root cause is in the vocation area of life, that is where you're going to start shifting the imbalance through shifting the way that your subconscious sees things, meaning you are starting to look for evidence that contradicts what you just found out, and you are starting to create more and more situations and more moments where you actively contradict what came up, like what I told you, where with my sleep, with Alex's sleep reflection, I every day clock micro moments of where I'm already rejuvenating in the money that I have and in the finances that I have. And also I create those micro moments where I show myself and I show the universe that I now am a person that rejuvenates in their financial situation and doesn't just wait until they get to a certain level. And you might think this is simple, you might think this is complex. I would definitely recommend you listen to this like 1 or 2 more times at least, because there is a lot here, and it's not going to be perfect to begin with because reflections is such a huge topic that you cannot cover it in just 2 or 3 podcast episodes. Also, finding out exactly what the reflection is telling you is a form of art. It takes time. Understanding exactly where it is rooted requires a trained intuition. So definitely with small reflections, use the protocol that I just gave you, the 3 steps. Start practicing it. Start practicing it with small things to begin with. And with time, the more confident you get with it and the more you see your reality actually shifting, you can move to bigger things. But if you are experiencing a very big reflection right now, don't try and resolve it yourself. Go to a trained intuitive, for example, and I can help you with that without you having to figure it out for 2 years on your own. And I do want to just add this and remind you, this is crucial, especially for leaders, high achievers, the types of people that listen to this podcast. When reflections are very strong, people often try to fix the external first. They try to control the person, they try to control the outcome, they try to control the timeline and the narrative. And I'm not saying it from being on a pedestal. This is something that I still experience, that everyone still experiences, because it's just part of being human, right? As I told you, when Alex started with his sleep problems for over a year, I was going to all the healers and naturopaths and doctors, even though I knew better than that. But there is, especially when the reflection is very strong, let's say you're having a huge argument with your partner, with your spouse, you're on the verge of divorce, you're going to try and fix your spouse, not fix yourself. But reflections are about internal balance. So if you keep trying to fix the external while staying internally imbalanced, you are basically just fighting with a mirror. You're fighting with yourself. And if you are not treating to what's happening inside of you, that is just, the external is just not going to change. And like, yes, theoretically, sometimes you could quote unquote force things. You could force your spouse to go to therapy and they could theoretically improve for a bit. You can kind of like win that situation for a bit, but the reflection will just reappear, either with your spouse again or in a new form that's usually even more like kind of stronger and more triggering until the imbalance is corrected. Which is why when a reflection shows up, you want to shift it when it is still not so loud, not so strong. So instead of asking, how do I stop this person from doing this? How do I stop the situation from doing this? Like, you could still work on the external, right? If you have a flat tire or if your washing machine broke down, you won't just let them stay that way. You could fix them. But first and foremost, you want to fix yourself. You want to ask, what is the internal state that is causing this, that has caused this, and how can I shift it? And that brings me back to that I created it all filter, stance, belief, because the point of that filter is speed. The faster you claim your authority, the faster you stop bleeding energy into blame and into trying to fix other people, and the faster that you can shift. And that's what leaders do. Leaders don't spend days in why me victim mode. Leaders go, okay, noted, what's the next move? And that is how we want to act with our reflections as well. All right, so I have so much more to say about this topic. There is literally so much that we can talk about it, but I'm going to wrap this up for today. If this episode resonated, if it made you think about specific reflections that you may have not even realized are reflections, let me know. I'd love to hear what you learned, what you got from it, how you are starting to shift reflections. Feel free to DM me on Instagram at Dr. Shiri Leader or email me hello@shirileader.com. I always love hearing what you took from the episodes and how it helped you. If you are watching this on YouTube, feel free to comment as well. And as always, I would so appreciate if you can support the podcast. I, put out all this incredible high frequency information for free out there for everyone to be able to understand how the universe works better, understand the laws of the universe, and really be able to shift and improve their lives. And all I ask, in return is that you rate this podcast. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you can rate us at 5 stars, or if you're watching on YouTube, just subscribe, like, as I said, leave a comment. This really helps the podcast get out there more, and it helps me kind of get that fair exchange from you for receiving all this incredible information. So this is it from today. As always, if you would like an intuitive read, a session, multiple sessions, if you would like to be a mentorship client, all of the links are in the show notes / description box. So make sure you check them out, as well as different trainings and courses that I offer. I am sending you so much love and sending you power, the power to really decode reflections, understand them, and shift them. So this is it from me for today. I will see you in the next episode. Bye.